वृंद की जय, सामवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। This morning we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 11. Swayambhuva Manu advises Dhruva Maharaj, text 30. Tvam pratyagatmani tada bhagavati ananta. Tvam pratyagatmani tada bhagavati ananta. Ananda matra upapanna samasta shakto. Ananda matra upapanna samasta shakto. Bhaktim vidhaya paramam shanakaira vidya. Bhaktim vidhaya paramam shanakaira vidya. Grantim vibetsya mamaham iti parudham. Grantim vibetsya mamaham iti prarudham. Tvam pratyagatmani tada bhagavati ananta. Ananda matra upapanna samasta shakto. Bhaktim vidhaya paramam shanakaira vidya. Grantim vibetsya mamaham iti parudham. Tam pratyagatmani tada bhagavati ananta. Ananda matra upapanna samasta shakto. Bhaktim vidhaya paramam shanakaira vidya. Grantim vibetsya mamaham iti parudham. Tvam pratyagatmani tada bhagavati ananta. Ananda matra upapanna samasta shakto. Bhaktim vidhaya paramam shanakaira vidya. Grantim vibhetsya mamaham iti parudham. Let's try. Tvam pratyagatmani tada bhagavati ananta. Anandamatra upapanna samasta shakto Bhaktim vidhaya paramam shanakaira vidya Grantim vibhetsyasi mamahamiti parudham. Adhijis? Bhaktim vidhaya paramam shanakaira vidya Too long. This shloka is in a meter called Vasant Tilaka. So each line has 14 syllables. So you can see Tvam Pratyag Atmani Tada Bhagavatya Nanta. So Brahma Samhita, the prayers of Lord Brahma, they're also sung in this meter as well. So it looks long, but actually if you can learn the meter, it's easy to go along. Okay, word for word. Tvam, you, Pratyagatmani, unto the super soul, Tada, at that time, Bhagavati, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anante, who is unlimited, Anandamatre, the reservoir of all pleasure, Upapanna, possessed of, Samasta, all, Shakto, potencies, Bhaktim, devotional service, Vidhaya, by rendering, Paramam, supreme, Shanakai, very soon, Avidya, of illusion, Grantim, the knot, Vibhetsyasi, you will undo, Mama, my, Aham, I, Iti, thus, Parudham, firmly fixed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Thus regaining your natural position and rendering service unto the Supreme Lord, who is the all-powerful reservoir of all pleasure, and who lives in all living entities as the Supersoul, you will very soon forget the illusory understanding of I and my. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj was already a liberated person because at the age of 5 years, he had seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But even though liberated, he was, for the time being, afflicted by the illusion of Maya, thinking himself the brother of Uttama in the bodily concept of life. The whole material world is working on the basis of I and mine. This is the root of attraction to the material world. If one is attracted by this root of illusory conceptions, I and mine, he will have to remain within this material world in different exalted or nasty positions. By the grace of Lord Krishna, the sages and Lord Manu reminded Dhruva Maharaj that he should not continue this material conception of I and mine. Simply by devotional service unto the Lord, his illusion could be eradicated without difficulty. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So just reading this section of verses, Swayambhuva Manu is reminding Dhruva Maharaj about the Lord in the heart, about the Super Soul. Mrigang Prabhu, I think he was giving the class last week, and he was, like half the class he spoke about the Super Soul, and it's what the Super Soul is, he defined it, and different qualities and the functions of what the Super Soul does. Upadrishta Anumanta, the Super Soul witnesses all of our activities in the heart, and it sanctions our desires. So if you want a desire to be fulfilled, it can't be fulfilled independently. So Krishna within your heart has to give the okay. Yes, I permit you to fulfill this desire, then it'll happen. So just how the Super Soul in the heart reciprocates. So there's one incident that happened. This happened some time back when we were on traveling Sankirtan, and we were in some caravan park somewhere, and I went out for a japa walk with one of the other brahmacharis, and we were just walking around, and it was bushy and everything, and then we were on a japa walk, and we were just talking and chanting, and he was telling me the trees remind him of his childhood place where he grew up in South India. I forgot, it was some British colony or French colony or something like that. Not Pondicherry, some other place. And the trees reminding him of of his growing up. And then all of a sudden, like we were walking for 20-25 minutes, and I didn't need to say anything, but somehow I just said, and just be careful, there might be snakes around here. Just like that, I just said that there might be snakes around here, just be careful. After 20 minutes of walking, 25 minutes of walking. And less than 5 seconds later, he sees something black in the grass. And it wasn't like in the woods or anything like that. Like the snake it was like a mowed area. So it was mowed grass, so people go there frequently. 1.5 meters long. He said it was as thick as his arm. And it was just lying there, like in a curled sort of way. And then as he went closer, because he didn't know exactly what it was at that point, but he went a little bit closer. He was literally 3 meters close to that snake. Then it started to move. And then he just looked at me and he said, "Prabhu, snake." And I was like 5 meters behind him. So I couldn't see the snake, but I just saw the reaction in his face. His face went white. And then we just bolted back the other way. So this is one little example of how Super Soul works. Like, we were just walking, absorbed in talking and chanting. Don't do that. And if I hadn't said anything, just be careful of snakes, that thought would not have crossed his mind. He would have just kept walking. But because I said that, there might be snakes around here. So his mind was attuned for the possibility that there could be snakes. So he just saw a snake 5 seconds later. So Krishna within the heart, he guides his devotees, not just devotees, but all living entities. In Ishopanishad, there's a verse which says that Krishna is the wish-fulfilling philosopher since time immemorial. Since time immemorial, Krishna has been fulfilling the desires of each and every soul residing within the heart. That's Krishna's business. So, what is the qualification for us to go from the material world to the spiritual world? Desire. It was desire that brought the soul from the spiritual world to the material world. So it is desire which will bring the soul from the material world back to the spiritual world. So we have to intensely desire and pray to Krishna. So Nrsimha Pr says, he often says that what to do if you don't have spiritual desire? We have a lot of material desires. We may not have spiritual desires, or if we have spiritual desires, maybe they're very weak and small. So how can we get spiritual desires? He says, pray to Tulsi Marni. So if you pray to Tulsi Marni, she will make your little spiritual desires very big. And the qualification for our spiritual desires to be fulfilled is that we should meditate on them so much that they completely consume our consciousness, completely consume our mind. So it shouldn't be that, yeah, I want to become a pure devotee of Radha Gopinath, but at the same time, I want this and this and this in the material world. Right? So it's like maybe 60% we want to become a pure devotee, 40% we have other material desires. When we come to the point where 80, 90, 95, 98, 99% of our consciousness is absorbed in spiritual desires, that's when the super soul within the heart will really, really, really start to arrange things. So we have to desire. That's the idea. We have to desire. So here in this particular verse, we see that Dhruva Maharaj is a pure devotee. But apparently he's doing something which a pure devotee should not do. Right? Pure devotees don't go out and kill wholesale. Now you may say Arjuna did that, but Krishna instructed Arjuna to do it. Now here, no one has told Dhruva Maharaj to go out and do wholesale killing of the entire Yaksha race. Previous verses in this chapter, it says that the Yakshas he was killing were actually sinless because it was only one Yaksha that killed his brother Uttama when his brother went to the forest. So he should have just killed that particular Yaksha who was responsible. But he's going out and practically wiping out the whole race of Yakshas. So Srila Prabhupada gives the example that when a mother's son gets married to another girl, and the mother of the son, she wants to train the daughter-in-law, right? She wants to train the daughter-in-law. She won't chastise the daughter-in-law directly because the relationship is not very strong. So to instruct the daughter-in-law, she will chastise her own daughter in the presence of the daughter-in-law. So in the same way, when Krishna wants to demonstrate something, he will use his pure devotees even to do something wrong so that others can learn. Of course, devotees do everything right, but Krishna sometimes will choose his pure devotees to even do something wrong to teach us that we should not do that. So here we see Dhruva Maharaj. He's already proved himself to be a pure devotee. He's done when he was 5 years old. He's already has gotten the personal darshan of Vishnu, of Prishnagarbha, and his rule in the pole star in Dhruvaloka is guaranteed. 30,000 years he will rule with senses which don't deteriorate in strength. So he has already attained such a benediction from Prishnagarbha, from Lord Vishnu. Still he's going out, and apparently here Prabhupada is saying that he was apparently afflicted by Maya for some time. So how is that? So here Dhruva Maharaj is telling us that we should not act out of anger. Bhagavad Gita says that there's 3 gates to hellish life. Right? Kam, Krodh and Lobh. Lust, anger and greed. These 3 things, if we have, we should try to get rid of them, because these 3 things will degrade our consciousness and will lead us either in this lifetime or in the next lifetime to a hellish condition of life. So Dhruva Maharaj is demonstrating to us that we should not act out of passion, because from the mode of passion, lust arises, and from lust, if it is unfulfilled, it leads to anger. So here we can see the perfect example of that. He couldn't avenge the death of his brother. He couldn't be there to save him when he went to the forest, so he got angry. And now he's wiping out the whole race of Yakshas wholesale. Arjuna is another example as well. He was a Kshatriya. He fought with demigods. He got astras, weapons from the demigods. And yet when it came time to fight with his relatives and kings from the opposite side who are aggressors, according to Bhagavad Gita. They should be killed, and by killing them, Arjuna would not get any sinful reactions. Apparently, he went on the bodily platform at that point in time, and he declined to fight. As a Kshatriya, he should have fought with them, and he did fight with them after Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. But at the start of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna wanted to retire to the forest and take sannyas. So Krishna chastised him. Again, you have to do your duty, right? That's the very basic first lesson of Bhagavad Gita on the material platform. On the spiritual platform, the very first lesson of Bhagavad Gita is that you're not the body, you're the spirit soul. So Arjuna is another example. Another example is Lord Shiva. What did Lord Shiva want to do? He wanted to see the Mohini Roop of Krishna. So Krishna smiled at him, are you sure you want to see me in the Mohini form? So then Mohini came, and then we know in the 4th canto, Lord Shiva ran after Mohini like a crazed man. So again, he demonstrated, even though he's a pure devotee, he demonstrated the effects of attraction of the opposite sex and how that can distract us from attaining Krishna Prema. And then one more example that comes to mind is from the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's the story of Markandeya Rishi. I don't know if you've heard of Markandeya Rishi. Markandeya Rishi, yeah, you've heard? Yes. He's one of the Charanjeevis. So he lives, for the whole of Kali Yuga he lived. So he's a pure devotee. He was doing tapasya. He even got the blessings of Lord Shiva as well by his tapasya. But one day he asked Krishna, my dear Krishna, I want to see the power of your external energy. I want to see the power of your Maya. Now that's a very dangerous thing to ask Krishna. So he asked that, and again Krishna very wryly smiled. Are you sure? You're supposed to be a pure devotee. Why do you want to flirt with Maya? But he asked that. Again, why? To teach us a lesson. So there he is. I think he was up in the Himalayan mountains, and he asked Krishna this, and all of a sudden he sees this big, gigantic tidal wave. Huge wave, like kilometers and kilometers high. And it's coming, and it's coming. And then all these big waves start to come. And all of a sudden, the next moment, he opens his eyes and he's just in the middle of nowhere, floating in this huge, humongous, vast, unlimited ocean. So what is this ocean? So it's explained that when the universal destruction happens, when the universe is about to get destroyed, so that time the Garbhodaka ocean at the bottom half of the universe, it rises and it floods the universe. So these were the destructive universal waves that were consuming and wiping out all living entities at the end of the life cycle of the universe before it goes back into the body of Mahavishnu. And he saw these big, gigantic whales and aquatic animals like the Timingala fish. So the Timingala fish in Bhagavatam, it says, is so big that it eats whales. That's how big the Timingala fish is. So he saw these Timingala fish, and he was just this lonely guy just floating in the water, just begging for help. And I think he was floating in that water for one night of Brahma. Is that correct? One night of Brahma, half a kalpa or something. And we know the lifespan of Brahma is 311 trillion years, 400 billion years. So for one night of Brahma, he was, like at least half that time, he was just floating in this water with waves and storms and thunder in the sky and nothing to eat. And all of a sudden, finally, because Krishna is doing all this to teach him and to teach us, more importantly, he comes in this very beautiful form of a baby. I forgot the name, Vada Pakshay Krishna or something. So he comes as a baby floating on a leaf. And the baby is, sometimes babies are very flexible. I don't think we can do it now, maybe. But Krishna was pulling his foot, and he was putting the thumb of his foot in his mouth. So you may have seen babies do that sometimes. So because Krishna hears his devotees glorifying him about his lotus feet, how his lotus feet are so merciful, so beautiful. So baby Krishna wanted to taste what is the attraction that my devotees have to my lotus feet. So He was putting his lotus feet in his mouth. And all of a sudden, just as fast as this but this experience came about, Markandeya Rishi, all of a sudden it just stopped. So he opened his eyes again, and there he was in his ashram in the Himalayan mountains. And he's like, no, I don't want to ask Krishna again to witness his Maya. So we can see that Krishna will use his pure devotees to teach us a lesson. Here Swayambhuva Manu, in this chapter is coming, and he's telling Dhruva Maharaj not to act out of anger. That's the first thing he says. Don't act out of anger, because when we act from anger, our intelligence doesn't work. Sometimes, Srila Prabhupada says in his purports in the Bhagavad Gita, he says that one can use different qualities which are ordinarily not considered to be glorious, like anger or greed, like that. We can dovetail them in Krishna consciousness. And the example that Srila Prabhupada gives in the Bhagavad Gita is Hanuman. So Hanuman, Srila Prabhupada says, Hanuman used his anger in the service of Lord Ram. So when he went to Lanka, right, he saw Mother Sita was there, and then the Rakshasas had, guarded her very nicely, and he wanted to give Ravan a little taste of Lord Ramachandra's power and might. So one of the Rakshasas or Rakshasis, they lit his tail on fire. So he used that as an opportunity, combined with his anger, to burn the whole city of Lanka. And he burns the whole city of Lanka, and he's about to jump back to go to India. But then he turns around and he sees the whole city on fire. Right? He's burnt the whole city out of his anger. He sees it on fire. And initially he feels very pleased. Yes, I've done this. I've given Ravana a little taste of what's about to come. But then, straight after that, if you read Ramayana, it says that he starts to lament. He starts to lament because he starts to think, oh no, I have acted out of passion, out of the spur of the moment. I acted, and I burnt the whole city down. What if I burnt Mother Sita as well? And he starts to lament. So that is a lesson to us that, yes, we can use greed and anger and all these other qualities in Krishna service, but it's not advised. Because even Hanuman, who used anger in the service of Lord, he lamented. But then Ramayana says that he saw auspicious omens in the sky which suggested that Sita was still alive. She didn't get burnt. That's the first thing. Swayambhuva Manu is telling Dhruva Maharaj, don't act out of anger. And he's acting out of anger by doing this wholesale killing of the yakshas. Second thing he says is that, I think that's the answer to Dinath's. Dinath Prabhu had some homework by Ganesham Prabhu to come and tell the rest of the brahmacharis next week about why we shouldn't use anger in the service of Krishna. So second thing Swayambhuva Manu says is that don't kill all these yakshas because it is not befitting our family lineage. If you start killing all these yakshas, we're descendants of Swayambhuva Manu, we're Kshatriyas. Prabhupada says in the Gita, Kshatriyo hi praja rakshan, which means Kshatriyas are designed to protect the praja, protect the citizens. And why are you going out and killing, doing a mass genocide of all these yakshas who are sinless actually? They didn't kill your brother. Kshatriyas are supposed to physically protect the citizens. But Srila Prabhupada says in the Gita, he says in his purpose that actually the real duty of the Kshatriyas is to protect the citizens from lust. Lust. And from lust comes anger. So the very person, Dhruva Maharaj, as a Kshatriya who's supposed to be protecting the citizens from lust and anger, apparently he himself is under the sway of lust and anger. So Swayambhuva Manu is telling him, it does not befit our family lineage. Kutasto kashmalam idam vishame samupastitam anayujushtam asargyam akirtikaram Arjuna. Same thing Krishna says to Arjuna at the start of the Gita as well. Where have these impurities come upon you? They don't befit a Kshatriya. So don't tell me that you want to go away to the forest and not fight. You are supposed to fight. The Kauravas are aggressors. They did poison you. They did burn your house on fire. They kidnapped your wife. They stole your wealth. They stole your land. So you will not incur any sinful reactions for killing them. So do it. Do it as a matter of duty, and do it because I'm instructing you to do it. And thirdly, Swayambhuva Manu tells to Dhruva Maharaj that saintly people don't act in this way. You are a saintly person. You are a role model to common people as well as devotees. And devotees don't play this game of tit for tat. You know tit for tat? That means you slap me, I'll slap you back twice as hard. Right? And it just continues like that. So I remember, I remember when I was, I just newly come to Krishna consciousness. And I was still studying at university. And so I was doing engineering. And then penultimate year, it was my second last year before graduation. And all the students in my university course, they were like trying to get like work experience in different places. So I managed to find work experience in a certain university in one of their laboratories. So I went there. It was my first day, and initially they put me on one of the computers and they told me to do some modeling and this and that. And then finally, around midday or something, they took me on a tour of the facility. And I was going on the tour and they opened this one door. And I walked inside with them and I saw stacks of hay, you know, hay like dried grass. And there was about 12 or 15 sheep sitting on these stacks of hay. It was not a barn, it was a room inside a laboratory. Just one small window, you know, a few bulbs hanging from the ceilings. And it was just these 12 sheep just sitting there, completely out of place. Obviously, they were using them as testing for their prosthesis and all that sort of stuff. So in biomedical engineering, if they want to test like like a artificial kneecap or something like that, they'll actually, before they implant it in human beings, they'll test it on animals. And then these animals they'll kill them after. Sometime they'll do euthanasia and they'll kill them. So these 12 sheep were there. And they walked inside. I walked inside and I just stood there and I saw 12 sheep just staring right at my face with like blank expressions. And then all of a sudden, one of the sheep just takes 5 steps towards me. And the other sheep are just looking at that sheep that's taking 5 steps, as if to say, okay, take me next. And I just turned around, just walked out. And then a few hours later, I was doing some other things, and then I just tried again. I just opened the door by myself this time, not with the other guys. And I closed the door behind me, and again, these 12 sheep are there just staring at me. And again, same sheep comes forward. And I thought, I can't do this. I don't want to be part of this. It's my first day work experience. I found a really nice job in a university in one of their laboratories, but I can't do this. So at that time, I was really passionate. I just had newly come to Krishna consciousness, so I told them like, this is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this. Think about the karma you're going to get and all this. And then one of the recent graduates who had gotten the job there, he started arguing with me, like, we're doing something good. We're doing this in the name of science and this and that. And then I just resigned. Resigned that work experience. No, thank you. So I came back home, and that time I didn't know many devotees. I knew Kamsari Prabhu in Krishna consciousness. And 2 senior devotees I knew. One was Rajanath Krishna Prabhu, maybe you know him. Sometimes he gives Bhagavatam classes, and obviously Ganesham Govinda Prabhu, I had been introduced to him. At that time, I didn't know what Ganesham means. I'm like, what is Ganesham? I don't know what Ganesham means. So I used to call him Govinda Prabhu. Govinda Prabhu. So before I called Ganesham Prabhu, I called Rajanath Prabhu. So I was speaking to Rajanath Prabhu, and he told me, I still remember, he told me, he quoted some line from Mahabharata, and I haven't seen it myself, but apparently it is there in Mahabharata, and the line says that if you want to save a family, then it is okay to sacrifice one member of this family. If you want to save a village, then it is okay to sacrifice one family from that village. Similarly, if you want to sacrifice an entire kingdom, it is okay to sacrifice one village or one town. But, it says, if you want to save yourself, if you want to save your soul, it is okay to sacrifice the whole world. Right? So, here we see a situation where to save a whole race of yakshas, Dhruva Maharaj should have just killed one yaksha. Right? According to Mahabharata, he should have just killed one yaksha. But he's doing exactly the opposite. One yaksha was at fault, but he's killing an entire race of yakshas. He's doing exactly the opposite. And therefore Swayambhuva Manu is coming and correcting him. So there's a nice verse in Bhagavad Gita, because here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is talking about the conceptions of I and mine. Srila Prabhupada is talking about our subtle body, which consists of, who knows the three elements of the subtle body? Yeah, mind, intelligence, and ego. So the mind is the chief. And Krishna is saying in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, text 6, he says, Bandhur atmatmanastasya yena atmaiva atmanajita anatmanastu shatruve vartitatmaiva shatruvat. He says, a very famous verse from the Bhagavad Gita, he says, for him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. And Prabhupada is saying in the purport, he says, the purpose of practicing yoga, eightfold yoga, is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga for show is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy. So we live in a world where we're just all about the externals, right? Just like the temple recently won a security grant. So maybe you might have seen some security spotlights in the car park and everywhere. So soon you'll see some CCTV cameras installed as well, because it's a grant that temple has won. So, like new CCTV cameras, like the ones we have, you might have seen them. I don't know how old they are. So we're going to get some new ones. So we spend a lot of money and a lot of effort protecting ourselves externally, right? Like big governments, they spend trillions of dollars in the budget, right, for weaponry and training soldiers and all that sort of stuff. And you go door to door and knock on houses, and they have these, nowadays they have these big, huge, humongous wooden doors that 3-4 people can walk in at the same time, right? To stop the Sankirtan devotees from coming and giving mercy. So we put all these defense measures physically. But at the same time, we don't realize that actually the greatest enemy is living inside our own self, as the mind, the uncontrolled mind. And actually the mind is not our enemy, because here Krishna is saying that for one who's controlled the mind is the friend. But one who is not controlled the mind is the enemy. So actually the mind is not the enemy. The mind becomes the enemy because the actual enemy, which is lust, kama, resides within the mind. When kama resides within the mind becomes the enemy. Right? And in 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we learned that the real enemy of the conditioned soul, lust, resides in 3 places. The mind, the intelligence, and the senses as well. The senses as well. And Krishna says that the way to defeat this enemy is to arm yourself, to equip yourself with divya gyan, with transcendental knowledge. With the sharp sword of transcendental knowledge, one can cut the bondage to Maya. That is the final verse of the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So today is Ekadashi, right? It's, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, it's Bhakti Janani. It's an opportunity for us to increase our bhakti. He says that we can take our Krishna consciousness one Ekadashi at a time. So today is Ekadashi. So today, if you'd like to, if you want to, you can make some sort of a personal sankalpa, personal vow. You know, from this Ekadashi to next Ekadashi, I will do such and such in Krishna consciousness. Like during Kartik month, Damodar month, devotees make some vows. Like just this morning, Manakripur was telling me, I make a vow that every single day in Kartik month, I'm going to wake up for Mangalarti. Of course, he says that because he has late nights working, so it's difficult for him sometimes. But he's making some sort of a determined effort. So same thing, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, from Ekadashi to Ekadashi, we can make a vow. So for the next fortnight, till the next Ekadashi comes, I will do such and such. So someone raised the question some months back in Srimad Bhagavatam class that Ekadashi is a day where devotees fast, right? It's said the best type of fasting is nirjal, where you don't drink water, don't eat food. So the question was from a particular devotee is, why should we fast? Why should we torture ourselves? Why don't we just eat and just go about thinking of Krishna? So Srila Prabhupada's stance on this was that Srila Prabhupada and both Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they placed Krishna's service as the topmost priority. So their stance was that if your fasting or your austerities, your personal austerities are coming in the way of serving Krishna, then don't worry about that. Don't worry about your personal austerities, serve Krishna instead. But if you can handle personal austerities and you can still render service to Krishna, good, you can do that. And we know the example of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He says he was Ekadashi and he was walking around the ashram one day and he saw a bunch of brahmacharis just sitting on the ground, relaxing. And he said, you should be going out and preaching. Why are you just lying around here in the ashram? And they said, it's Ekadashi, we're fasting. Then he said, even eat grains if you have to, but then go out and preach. And Srila Prabhupada says that devotees, if they can't fast, at least they should take anukalpa. So anukalpa, Prabhupada says, means milk and fruits. At least take that much and go and preach. So fasting, Shastra says fasting is encouraged, and I'm coming to this because of austerities to control the mind and senses. But if that is not possible, then Srila Prabhupada's stance is eat and render service to Krishna, because rendering service to Krishna is topmost. Now, why is it that devotees should do austerities, if it is possible? That is explained in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj is an incarnation of Krishna. He's the incarnation of Krishna which demonstrates rulership, poshanam, the ability to take care of living entities. So he lives his life as a king, and then after some time, when it's time to take vanaprastha, sannyas, he goes to the forest. And there it's explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, he engages in very, very intense tapasya. Just drinking water, eating, fruits and dried leaves and all this sort of stuff. Towards the end of his manifestation here on this earth. And Srimad Bhagavatam explains why Prithu Maharaj performed these severe austerities, these tapasya, for 3 reasons. First reason Srimad Bhagavatam gives is to control the pran within his body. Pran means the life force within his body. Now pran, pranayama. Yeah? So pranayama. So pranayama is very, very, your breath is very, very intimately connected to your mind. Right? The more you slow down your breath, the more the energy of your subtle body will also reduce. The fluctuations in your mind will reduce. If you perform kumbhaka, which means retention of your breath, either inside or outside, your mind will very much slow down. So he performed severe tapasya to control his mind, his pran. Second reason that he performed intense tapasya was to control his senses and his words. Senses and his words. So devotees, like for example, let's say it's Janmashtami and you're fasting. And then your mind is telling you, hey, eat something, eat something. It is an opportunity for you to use your intelligence and tell your mind, no, I'm not the body. No, I'm not the body. I don't have to eat anything today. So it reinforces within your consciousness that you're not the body. But if you just go about eating whenever you like, whatever you like, the idea that you are the body will actually be reinforced. Make sense? So when we undergo a little bit of hardship, we can take that as an opportunity to remind ourselves we're not the body and the mind. And then the third reason is to control the sensual urge, to control the sex urge, Srimad Bhagavatam says. So if you read, I believe it's in Chaitanya Bhagavat, we know Haridas Thakur, Namacharya Haridas Thakur. So the prostitute comes for 3 nights trying to allure him. And then finally, she becomes his disciple. She sees that he's very fixed in chanting, and then she realizes that she's doing the wrong thing, and then she becomes his disciple. And then it's explained in the Shastra that she goes and she shaves her hair, and she just wears like one white piece of, for sari, and then Haridas Thakur instructs her, you chant the holy name, and you serve Tulsi Marani. But then she tells Haridas Thakur, but my past samskaras are haunting me. So Haridas Thakur explains to her, if you want to get rid of these past impressions and samskaras, he says do 2 things. He says increase your chanting of Hare Krishna and reduce your eating. So he says if you reduce your eating and increase your chanting of Hare Krishna, in other words, in principle, it means reduce your sense gratification and increase your devotional service, then all these impressions in your mind will go away very quickly. So these are some lessons that we can learn from this particular section of Srimad Bhagavatam. I just wanted to quickly, I know it's 8:50, I just wanted to quickly say something about Madhvacharya. So yesterday we celebrated Ram Vijayotsava. So it was the day yesterday when Lord Ramachandra defeated Ravan. And yesterday was also the appearance day of Madhvacharya. Now we all belong to the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. So one of our foundational acharyas is Madhvacharya. Now it is explained in Mahabharata that there's a verse there in Mahabharata which says that 4,300 years after Kali Yuga begins, Bhimasen, we all know Bhimsen. Bhimsen is one of the Pandavas. Bhimsen will again appear in this earth as Vayuputra, right? The son of the wind god. He will appear and he will vigorously preach the cult of bhakti throughout the world. So, Madhvacharya appeared in the 13th century. He appeared 700 years ago, which is exactly 4,300 years after the disappearance of Krishna. So exactly according to Shastra, Bhimsen, it's explained that Madhvacharya is a combination of Hanuman and Bhimsen. That's why he was exceptionally strong. So he appeared and he preached Dvaitavad. Dvaitavad means we have Advaita and Dvaitavad. Advaita means there's no difference between Krishna, the super soul, and the Jiva. They're the same. So that's Mayavad. Dvaitavad means there is a difference. Right? There's a difference between Krishna and there's a difference between us. And the difference is that we are small, Krishna is big, and we're supposed to serve him. So this is the basic philosophy that Madhvacharya established. And that's why if you see pictures of Madhvacharya, you'll see him sitting with back erect, and he'll be holding these two fingers up. As if to say that, definitely he's saying that there's a difference between Krishna and the living entity. That's why he's holding up 2 fingers. So when he was growing up, he was very powerful. He killed many Rakshasas, and it's explained one of the Rakshasas came in the form of a snake. And as a little baby, he put the thumb of his left foot just on the snake's head and killed that snake. He had the power that whenever his mother wanted to see him, just within one leap, wherever he was, he would appear before his mother. We see that in Chaitanya Leela as well, Avirbhav. Mahaprabhu also, after he took sannyas, whenever his mother Sachimata wanted to, see him, he would come there on the spot. He would appear immediately in the house of Srivas Thakur. He would immediately appear to Nityananda Prabhu whenever he wanted to see him. So in the same way, Madhvacharya also immediately came whenever his mother wanted to see him. And he was a master, not only in Bhakti Yoga, but he was a master in mystic yoga as well. It's explained that his father was poor, and he was really short on money. So one day, he had some tamarind seeds. And by mystic power, Madhvacharya transformed these tamarind seeds into gold coins to relieve the debt that his father was in. When Madhvacharya went to Gurukul, because he was Vayuputra, right? He was very strong, very athletic as well. So he just used to spend his time just wrestling with other students and just fighting with them, playing games and all these sort of things. And then his teacher at the Gurukul was like, hey, you're not sitting down and studying Shastra. So one day he came and chastised Madhvacharya. You're just spending the whole day playing and wrestling. You come here and sit down and you learn the Shastra. And he asks him some questions about the Shastra. And Madhvacharya very fluently, flawlessly answers all of his questions. And his teacher gets shocked. Wow. Actually, the knowledge is already self-manifested within him. He's actually, he knows the Shastra, he knows the Vedas completely. But he's spending his time playing because that's his nature as Vayuputra. There's two things, very significant events that happen in the life of Madhvacharya, and I'll finish with this. The first thing is his meeting with Vedavyas. Now, who knows our Guru Parampara? The first three. Who's the first in our Guru Parampara? Lord Krishna. Then, after Lord Krishna? Brahma. Then after Brahma? Narada Muni. Then after Narada? Vyasadeva. And then after Vyasadeva? Madhvacharya. So after Vyasadeva is Madhvacharya. So actually Madhvacharya, he took sannyas because he was very learned in the Shastra. He took sannyas when he was just 12 years of age. And then he traveled all across Bharatavarsha, preaching and writing commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita and everything. And one day it's explained he went to the Himalayan mountains and he was holding a class for his students, and all of a sudden there was a light in the sky, and that light indicated that he should actually travel up into the Himalayan mountains to Badrinath, Uttara Badri, where Vedavyas lives, completely unseen by normal people. So he left his students there and he started traveling up, and he went up into the highest regions of the Himalayan mountains. And there he got the darshan of Vedavyas. Not just Vedavyas, also Naranarayan Rishi as well. And he presented to Vedavyas his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. And he asked for feedback. And Vedavyas told him that this commentary is flawless. I can see no fault in this commentary. Now just imagine, Vedavyas is the author of the Vedas, and he's saying there's no fault in your commentary. And Vedavyas gives him an instruction. He says, go and preach this message of Bhagavad Gita, of Bhagavad Dharma, all throughout the whole world. So that is when Madhvacharya accepts Vedavyas as his Shiksha Guru. He had a Diksha Guru, which was his Sannyas Guru, but he accepts Vedavyas as his Shiksha Guru. And on his instruction, he preaches Bhagavad Dharma all throughout India. And then he starts getting these big titles, like Digvijaya and this and that, and Chakravarti and this, that, and it becomes really popular, really famous. So that's one significant event in his life. Second significant event is very interesting. So in his travels, in his preaching travels around Bharatavarsha, one day he's sitting on the shore of a beach, and the ocean, the sea is in front of him, and all of a sudden he sees a boat, a ship, and it's coming closer and closer, and it gets stuck in the sand. It's a merchant ship, right? It's selling goods, different goods. It gets stuck in the sand. So Madhvacharya is there on the edge of on the beach, and he's busy writing. He had written some 5 chapters of some book that morning, and then he sees the ship stuck in the sand. And because he's Vayuputra, he's the son of the wind god, he just waves his hand. He just goes like that, and it produces a gust of wind, and the boat gets dislodged from the sand, and it starts to float in the water again. And then the captain of the ship, he comes off and he congratulates Madhvacharya. Hey, thank you so much. Our boat was stuck. Now we can sail again and do our trading. And then he says, I can give you something. What would you like? And Madhvacharya begs for 2 big blocks of Gopi Chandan. Now, according to Skanda Puran, Gopi Chandan is non-different from the dust of Vrindavan. So be very careful, especially when you're applying Gopi Chandan on your body. Sometimes devotees mistakenly, they drop Gopi Chandan, little dust particles or little puddles of Gopi Chandan on the ground. So it's bit risky to do that because it's non-different from the dust of Vrindavan. So if someone comes along and steps on it, you'll get some not so good reaction. So be very careful. Don't spill any Gopi Chandan on the floor. So as Madhvacharya is carrying these big blocks of Gopi Chandan along the road, one of them actually breaks open, and inside that is a beautiful deity of Krishna. His name is Udupi Krishna. It is a deity of Krishna as Bala Krishna, as baby Krishna. And he's holding a churning rod, and he's holding like a gopa stick, like that. And it's explained that, Vajranab, I'll finish, just give me a few minutes. Vajranab is the great-grandson of Krishna, right? Krishna, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vajranab. And Vajranab installed the three famous deities in Vrindavan: Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Govindaji, and Radha Gopinath. And Uttara, who is the mother of Parikshit Maharaj, she said that Madan Mohan has the exact feet as Krishna. Govindaji has the exact chest as Krishna. And Gopinath, he has the exact face as Krishna. Now, a little lesser known fact is that Krishna, while he was doing his manifest pastimes on this earth, he himself had installed one deity of himself. A deity of his form as a baby. And it was being worshipped. But then after Krishna disappeared, Arjuna, he brought that deity to Dwarka. I'm guessing it was probably Prabhasha Kshetra, where the Kurus, it was in Gujarat somewhere. He brought it there. And there, this deity that Krishna himself had installed was being worshipped for a long time. But then over a period of time, the worship of this deity stopped, and it just got lost somewhere. Now this ship that was coming, and that got stuck in the banks, that ship was coming from Dwarka. So by the will of Krishna, that deity of Krishna was on board that ship, hiding inside that block of Gopi Chandan. And then he became manifest to Madhvacharya. And he installed him, and he began the worship of this very beautiful deity of Udupi Krishna. You can search it up, Udupi Krishna. You can see pictures of that very merciful, beautiful deity. And he got 8 of his brahmacharis, very close disciples. He gave them sannyas, and he told them, each of you take direct charge of worshipping this deity for 2 years. And the remaining time, you go and preach. So for example, if he has 8 sannyasis that are going to serve this deity, so the first 2 years, one of the sannyasis will serve that deity in the temple. And the other 7, they'll go and preach. Then after 2 years, that sannyasi who was taking care of the deity, he will go and preach, and the second one will come, and for 2 years he'll take care of the deity. Like that, they'll take turns every 2 years. So this is how the Madhva Sampradaya established the worship of Krishna, of Udupi Krishna. So that's an example of someone, Madhvacharya is an example of someone taking opportunity of his appearance day yesterday to say something about him, of someone who has transcended the mind and senses and the conception of I and mine. So I'll finish there. We are way past time, so unfortunately I won't ask for any questions today. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.